Hi guys, Chris here with Super Savvy Travelers. We are still in Bari today and we're so excited because we have some really golden nuggets of information for you. Nick Metta from Studio Legale Metta has set up an interview with a Notaio, and we're going to answer all your burning questions and really give you a good idea of what the Notaio does, how important he is in the process, and a little background on how things go and some really important tips. So today we have with us Alessandro Armenio, and he is an Italian public notaio. Alessandro, thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Thank you.
Let's start, and Nick is here with us as well. So we wanted to go over what is the difference between an Italian notary and an American notary. So do you want to tell us?
Will you start as an American notary?
Yes, because I am a U.S. notary. So as a U.S. notary, the only thing I can really do is certify people's signature, like identify a person, make sure that that person identity is correct, it matches the name on a specific document, and authenticate that signature. That's it. And the first time I took my license was in 2011, after a probably 2-3 hour reading of regulations online class, and I got my license in the U.S. Now they made it a bit more difficult, but still it took me probably 2 extra hours to get the renewal. And that was it. And the amount of notaries that is in the U.S. is amazing. You can get notaries in banks and offices. We have other notaries at our office in the U.S. as well. So it's very easy to get a notary license in the U.S. You don't need any background education to get a notary license. And I will let Alessandro say what you need to get an Italian license as a notary.
I had to study a little more because to become a public notary in Italy, you have to make a training after graduation, or sometimes you can train during the graduation period. But anyway, you have to go to another public notary to learn how to become a public notary. You have to study a lot, and it takes I think at least from 2 to 5 or 6 years of thorough study.
And sorry to interject, this is after law school.
Oh, after law school.
It's mandatory to first go through law school, which is minimum 4 to 5 years, and then you can start the 5-year process.
Okay, and then that 5-year process is like a mentorship, right?
Yes, you have a mentorship after the law school. It lasts differently according what you have done before. Normally from 6 months to 1 year and a half. After that, you have to make pass an examination, which is quite difficult because there are some places that are that can be covered by the applicants. So maybe 3,000 people goes to make this examination, but just 100 or 150 pass the examination. Okay?
Wow.
And if I can interject, it is basically they will set up the date every 2-3 years sometimes.
1 hour and a half.
1 year from
1 year and
1 year to 2 years. Wow. So it's not like I went to take my notary exam whenever I wanted to December.
Right.
Whereas for notaries, they have to wait for the government to set up the date for the exam, which is any time within 1 to 2 years. So all people who want to get the license will have to go to Rome, and 3,000 years.
Yes, because it is ruled not by the Notarial Council, but from the government, Italian government, Ministero di Giustizia. So law,
the Justice Department.
Justice Department. It is not something that we notaries rule. It is something ruled by the law and performed by the Justice Department. And what we do is different from what was saying the Calabria that U.S. notaries do, because when you come to a public notary with an agreement, we do not just say, okay, you have signed before me, in front of me, in my presence. We have to read the agreement. We have to make a check on the compliance of this agreement to Italian law, which is not should not be against Italian laws. And it is mandatory for the public notary to make some checks on what is written in the agreement. Let's talk about purchases.
Yes.
Public notary has to check whether the seller is the real owner of the property. This means that public notary has to go to some public registries to make all these checks, and so it is something more difficult and delicate, and it is a higher guarantee for the purchaser.
Yeah, yeah. Now you also check for liens and mortgages, right?
Yes, that's very important because liens, mortgages they do not affect the transferability of the property, but there is someone else, the possible creditor, that has rights on the property, and the purchaser may, after having paid a huge amount of money, may see his property vanish.
Yes, yes, very important.
We make checks at least in the previous 20 years before the deed will be signed. You sign the deed today, okay, I have made all my checks dating at least 20 years ago.
Okay. And when you check that, you check, like many times I see in the actual deed itself, the succession. And you check the succession going back for 20 years. That's very important. Now, do you also check for easements and other burdens like rights of passage?
This is quite complicated to answer to this question, because there are easements that are must be voluntary easements, okay, and they appear in public registries, okay, but there are easements that have they exist just
by
because
law.
by law, by the situation.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's make an example. If my property is this one,
Yeah.
okay, and your property is this one here, there is an easement on my property for the water to flow. It rains, okay, the water has to flow.
Yeah.
So you cannot do nothing about that. And this is not, it doesn't appear in any document. So the public notary cannot say if there is no easement at all, because maybe easements that come from the nature.
So one of the things that we do is when we send an inspector, a surveyor to survey the property for building compliance, we also ask to check for easements. So we, based on the property map that we extract from the register, public record, say this lot of this person is buying, especially with Trulli houses, which are the homes here. He has an office in the Trulli Valley, Loco Rotondo, which is beautiful, by the way. Make sure to visit it.
We will.
So there are several people who buy a Trulli house, and those are on small plots of land or larger plots of land. And if the plot of land is landlocked, let's say, or let's say, meaning there is no access to a public main road, it means that there must be an easement over someone else's property.
Sure.
Or if your property that you are buying is next to a property that is interlocked among other lots, you might want to make sure that it is not your lot that is going to have the easement. Or you want to know, because if you have ideas of privacy, you might want to discuss with your neighbor, okay, you know what, I'm going to dedicate a strip of land on the border, and you can only go there, and I'll put bushes or trees, a tree line, and kind of forget that you have that strip of land, and you kind of agree, as it was saying, in the register with a third party, so it's a three-way transaction.
Yeah.
And so, but you want to make sure, because some easements, unfortunately, cross all the way through the lot.
Right. Yes.
And there is nothing you can do, because once it has been used, perpetuated for a certain amount of time, the owner of the lot where the easement goes to cannot challenge that anymore.
Yes.
Okay.
And let's say Trulli homes were used as the tool storage places. So farmers wouldn't know if the other neighbors would cross right in the middle of the lot.
Right.
However, if you want to build, if you want to refurbish that Trulli house with a swimming pool, you don't want all of a sudden you're there hanging out with guests and having this tractor, you know,
Yeah,
going through. You
And
know.
that's something that public notary can reveal from the checking of the public registries, because it's a matter of fact.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So if you go in the property and you see a path which is not mentioned in the deeds, it doesn't mean that there is no driveway pass easement. It may mean that there is a driveway easement created by the time, the passing of time.
And you should query that and make sure it doesn't exist or find out.
I can't say it doesn't exist, but it should be ruled in the deed.
Yeah, but as a buyer, you need to address us. I guess that's what I'm saying.
That's our
That's
recommendation.
very important.
Because otherwise, if you first purchase the property and then find out, and you go to the neighborhood and we say, well, that's my right. If you want me to take the longer way around your property, you're gonna pay me.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do the pave all the things and do the fence and give me some money because I don't want to pay for my lawyer to assist me. And so obviously you lose your leverage. Whereas if it's a neighbor, most chances are he might be a friend of your seller. So the seller say, hey, you might let the seller do the negotiation for
very
you.
good point.
So it's really like you need to go there on the site and check it out, especially in the countryside.